murder. The word itself sends a chill down the spine. But what's even more terrifying? Murderers who vanished into thin air, leaving behind only questions, fear, and legends. Crimes so baffling, so sinister, that even decades later, they remain unsolved. Today, we're diving into the top 5 unsolved murder cases of all time. These are stories that will keep you up at night, stories that defy logic, and stories that remind us that sometimes the truth is far darker than fiction. Let's begin our countdown, starting with number 5. The Black Dahlia Murder. In January 1947, the city of Los Angeles was rocked by a murder so gruesome it became the stuff of nightmares. Elizabeth Short, a 22-year-old aspiring actress, was found brutally murdered in a vacant lot. Her body had been severed in half, drained of blood, and posed in a grotesque display. Her face was slashed into a haunting, clown-like grin, a detail that would forever link her to the nickname, the Black Dahlia. Elizabeth's life was shrouded in mystery. She was known to frequent Hollywood's seedy underbelly, chasing dreams of stardom, but her dreams ended in horror. Despite one of the largest manhunts in LA history, her killer was never found. Over the years, countless suspects emerged, doctors, butchers, even famous personalities, but no one was ever charged. The Black Dahlia case remains one of the most infamous unsolved murders in history. It's a story of beauty, brutality, and a killer who vanished into the shadows, leaving behind only questions and a legacy of terror. But let's dive deeper. Elizabeth Short's life was a tapestry of tragedy and mystery. Born in Boston in 1924, she grew up in a broken home, her father abandoning the family when she was just a child. By her teenage years, Elizabeth was already dreaming of Hollywood. She moved to California, hoping to make it big, but instead found herself drifting through a series of dead-end jobs and relationships. The night of her murder, Elizabeth was last seen at the Biltmore Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. Witnesses reported seeing her with a man, but no one could provide a clear description. Her body was discovered days later, on January 15, 1947, in a vacant lot on Norton Avenue. The scene was horrifying. Her body had been meticulously cleaned, and her intestines were neatly placed beneath her. The killer had even taken the time to style her hair. The investigation was chaotic. The LAPD received hundreds of tips, many of them false leads. One of the most bizarre aspects of the case was the arrival of an anonymous letter to the Los Angeles Examiner. The letter contained Elizabeth's personal belongings, including her birth certificate and photos, along with a note signed the Black Dahlia Avenger. Despite the massive effort, the case went cold. Over the years, numerous suspects have been proposed. Some believe the killer was a surgeon, given the precision of the mutilations. Others point to George Hoddle, a prominent doctor with a dark past, who was even investigated by his own son, a retired LAPD detective. But without concrete evidence, the truth remains elusive. The Black Dahlia case is more than just a murder. It's a symbol of Hollywood's dark side, a reminder that beneath the glitz and glamour lies a world of shadows and secrets. Elizabeth Short's story continues to captivate and horrify, a mystery that may never be solved. Number 4. The Zodiac Killer. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, the San Francisco Bay Area was terrorized by a killer who called himself the Zodiac. His crimes were random, his methods brutal, and his taunts to the police and media were chilling. The Zodiac claimed to have murdered 37 people, though only 7 confirmed victims have been linked to him. What made the Zodiac so terrifying wasn't just his crimes, it was his mind games. He sent cryptic letters to newspapers, filled with ciphers and threats. Some of these codes remain unsolved to this day. He even sent pieces of a victim's blood-stained shirt as proof of his deeds. Despite countless investigations, the Zodiac was never caught. Suspects ranged from school teachers to convicted criminals, but no one could definitively tie them to the crimes. The Zodiac's identity remains one of the greatest mysteries in criminal history, a shadowy figure who disappeared as suddenly as he appeared, leaving behind a trail of fear and unanswered questions. But let's go deeper. The Zodiac's first confirmed attack occurred on December 20th, 1968, when two teenagers, David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen, were shot to death in their car on a secluded lover's lane in Vallejo, California. Just 6 months later, the Zodiac struck again, attacking Darlene Ferrin and Mike Mageau at a parking lot in Vallejo. Ferrin was killed, but Mageau survived, becoming one of the few living witnesses to the Zodiac's crimes. The Zodiac's reign of terror reached its peak in 1969. On July 4th, he attacked Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard at Lake Berryessa. Both were tied up and stabbed. Shepard died from her injuries, while Hartnell survived. Just weeks later, the Zodiac claimed his final confirmed victim, cab driver Paul Stein, in San Francisco. But it wasn't just the murders that made the Zodiac infamous, it was his letters. In 1969, the Zodiac sent a letter to the San Francisco Chronicle claiming responsibility for the murders and including a cipher. He demanded that the letter be published on the front page, or he would go on a kill rampage. The cipher was eventually solved, but it revealed only a cryptic message. I like killing people because it is so much fun. Over the years, the Zodiac sent more letters, each one more taunting than the last. He even included a map, claiming it would lead to a bomb he had planted. The bomb was never found. The Zodiac's identity remains a mystery. Suspects have included Arthur Lee Allen, a convicted child molester, and Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber. But without definitive evidence, the Zodiac's true identity remains unknown. The Zodiac case is a chilling reminder of how one man's actions can instill fear in an entire community. His crimes, his letters, and his ciphers continue to fascinate and terrify, a puzzle that may never be solved. Number 3. The JonBenét Ramsey case. On December 26, 1996, the world was stunned by the murder of 6-year-old JonBenét Ramsey. A child beauty queen, JonBenét was found dead in the basement of her family's home in Boulder, Colorado. The details were horrifying. She had been strangled, her skull fractured, and a ransom note was found in the house. The case quickly became a media frenzy, with suspicions falling on JonBenét's own family. Her parents, John and Patsy Ramsey, were scrutinized relentlessly. Despite their claims of innocence, many believed they were involved. Years later, DNA evidence seemed to exonerate the family, but the killer's identity remains unknown. The JonBenét Ramsey case is a tragic reminder of how a single crime can shatter lives and divide opinions. To this day, no one knows who killed the little girl in the beauty pageant dress, and the mystery continues to haunt us. But let's delve deeper. JonBenét Ramsey was a bright, vivacious child, known for her performances in child beauty pageants. Her parents, John and Patsy Ramsey, were well-respected members of the Boulder community. But on the morning of December 26, 1996, their lives were shattered. Patsy Ramsey called 911, reporting that her daughter was missing and that a ransom note had been found. The note demanded $118,000, a strangely specific amount that matched John Ramsey's recent bonus. Hours later, JonBenét's body was discovered in the basement of the family home. She had been strangled with a garrote and struck on the head. The investigation was plagued by mistakes. The crime scene was not properly secured, and the Ramsey family was not immediately interviewed. Suspicion quickly fell on the family, particularly Patsy Ramsey, who had written the ransom note. Over the years, numerous theories have emerged. Some believe an intruder broke into the home and killed JonBenét. Others point to the family, suggesting that JonBenét's death was an accident that was covered up. In 2008, DNA evidence seemed to exonerate the Ramsey family, pointing to an unknown male suspect. But without a match, the case remains unsolved. The JonBenét Ramsey case is a tragic enigma, a story of a life cut short and a family forever scarred. It's a reminder that sometimes the truth is the hardest thing to find. Number 2. The Axeman of New Orleans. Between 1918 and 1919, the city of New Orleans was gripped by fear. A killer known only as the Axeman was on the loose, targeting Italian-American families in the dead of night. His weapon of choice? An axe. His signature? Breaking into homes, murdering his victims, and disappearing without a trace. The Axeman was brazen. He even sent a letter to the local newspaper, taunting the police and promising to spare anyone playing jazz music on a specific night. The city erupted into a frenzy, with jazz music blaring from every corner. Despite his boldness, the Axeman was never caught. Some believe he was a serial killer who moved on to other cities. Others think he may have been a local who blended back into society. Whatever the truth, the Axeman's reign of terror remains one of the most chilling, unsolved murder sprees in history. But let's explore further. The Axeman's first known attack occurred on May 23, 1918, when Joseph Maggio and his wife Catherine were murdered in their home. Both had been attacked with an axe and Joseph's throat had been slit. The killer had entered through a chiseled door panel, a signature move that would become his calling card. Over the next year, the Axeman struck again and again, targeting Italian-American families. His victims included grocers, shopkeepers, and families. Each time the killer entered through a chiseled door panel, attacked with an axe, and vanished without a trace. The Axeman's most infamous act was his letter to the New Orleans Times-Picayune. In it, he declared that he would spare anyone playing jazz music on the night of March 19, 1919. The city complied, and jazz music filled the streets. That night, the Axeman did not strike, but the killings continued. The Axeman's final confirmed attack occurred in October 1919, when Mike Pepitone was murdered in his home. After that, the Axeman vanished, leaving behind only fear and speculation. Over the years, numerous suspects have been proposed, including a disgruntled grocer and a mentally unstable man named Joseph Mumfree. But without concrete evidence, the Axeman's identity remains a mystery. The Axeman of New Orleans is a chilling figure, a killer who terrorized a city and then disappeared into the night. His crimes remain unsolved, a haunting reminder of a time when fear ruled the streets of New Orleans. Number 1. The Jack the Ripper murders. And now we come to the most infamous unsolved murder case of all time, Jack the Ripper. In the autumn of 1888, the streets of London's Whitechapel district ran red with blood. 5 women, all prostitutes, were brutally murdered and mutilated. The killer's methods were savage, his knowledge of anatomy precise, and his ability to evade capture uncanny. Jack the Ripper taunted the police with letters, some of which were likely hoaxes, but others chillingly real. He became a legend, a symbol of fear in Victorian England. Despite countless theories and suspects, from doctors to royalty, the Ripper's true identity was never discovered. Over a century later, the mystery of Jack the Ripper endures. His crimes have inspired countless books, movies, and theories, but the truth remains buried in the foggy streets of old London. Jack the Ripper wasn't just a killer, he was a phantom, a shadow that vanished into history, leaving behind only blood and terror. But let's delve deeper. Jack the Ripper's victims, known as the Canonical Five, were Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly. Each was murdered in a similar fashion, their throats slit, their bodies mutilated, and their organs removed. The Ripper's first confirmed victim was Mary Ann Nichols, whose body was discovered on August 31, 1888. Her murder was followed by Annie Chapman on September 8th, Elizabeth Stride and Catherine Eddowes on September 30th, and Mary Jane Kelly on November 9th. The Ripper's crimes were marked by a level of brutality that shocked even the hardened residents of Whitechapel. His ability to evade capture was equally astonishing. Despite a massive manhunt, the Ripper was never caught. Over the years, countless suspects have been proposed, including Prince Albert Victor, a member of the royal family, and Aaron Kosminski, a Polish immigrant. But without definitive evidence, the Ripper's identity remains a mystery. Jack the Ripper's crimes are a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the human soul. His legend endures, a symbol of fear and mystery that continues to captivate and horrify. These are the stories that remind us of the darkness that lurks in the world, the killers who were never caught, the mysteries that were never solved. They haunt our imaginations, our nightmares, and our history. If you found this video chilling, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And remember, the scariest mysteries are the ones that remain unsolved. So don't leave us hanging. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.